Guys, I just wanted to put a little bit more information before I make the Let's Play for Monster Hunter Stories 2. Now, this is all still against Amazon because they don't want to say certain things, okay? And this is something that Amazon Games entirely does not want to put all this in a way for people to understand. They're just trying to lie their way out of it, okay? Now, first of all, let me make okay. Here's the first few information I want to put out there. So, when a company makes an MMO, but they're literally going down, and they have their highest quality game, and that was New World Eternum. That was their AAA game, right? Their AAA MMO is how they would missay, right? Because it's supposed to be an online MMO survival, okay? But here's the thing. Yes, when a company who releases an MMO makes excuses for poor performance, bugs, or unpopular design choices instead of addressing the root problem, it can be absolutely it can absolutely accelerate their downfall and lead to a catastrophic loss of players' trust. This behavior, often seen as a defense mechanism against accountability, can turn a bad patch into a lasting reputation disaster. Here is how excuses can drive further and sometimes final downfall. Okay, erosion of trust. The community goodwill. Their goodwill when developers use excuses such as that's just how the game is, or blaming players for not understanding the vision it communicates that they are not listening. This makes players feel unheard, shifting them from constructive feedback and to apathy or active frustration. And of course, that's happening with other companies like Nintendo somewhat, but some people decide to continue supporting it and put the toxicity towards the people who used to play their system, who used to support the Pokemon games, right? And they'll use the excuses, oh, this person's just a Pokemon fanboy because he don't, because he's complaining about it and no longer supporting it. That's a thing. Okay. And now, encouraging rage quitting and depopulation. That's something that wasn't too much in against Amazon. They weren't putting too much of that, but they did actually somewhat started ignoring feedback. They stopped telling their players they didn't tell them enough. They just put the word like we're shutting down, right? They don't want to say that they're going to start losing a lot of money because this is their best title. This is their best game. Even though it had some issues, but they somewhat start to improve them and they start saying, "Well, I think it's about time we shut down." Right? And they're not continuing to focus on the game that is giving them more money than Throne and Liberty because they don't want to say Throne and Liberty is making them less money. But if you saw my last video from this type of stream, I do show off that New World Tournament didn't get the chance to even try and get them a lot more than what they had, right? But they had a decent amount in New World compared to Thorn and Liberty. I feel like if New World of Tournament was still continuing, I feel like New World of Tournament will still be a little bit more up there than Throne and Liberty, right? It would have done a little more better. And Throne and Liberty is literally completely pay to win compared to New World of Tournament for most things, right? You only have like mostly just the battle pass and like a few cosmetics that are usually pay to win. And in Throne and Liberty, everything in the game, cosmetics, battle pass, auction house, all that is completely pay to win. Because you could choose to earn the Lucent from auction house, right? But here's the problem. If there's not enough players for you to sell stuff in an auction house in Throne and Liberty, it's gonna be completely turning into a pay to win uh, money fest, money grabbing, cash grabbing game. Okay? And here's the thing, not very much people are using that auction house in Throne and Liberty. And because of the things that they do making the auction house a kind of pay to win alongside battle pass and other cosmetics, right? If you're not able to earn lucents from the auction house, it can kill you. It can make it where you just don't like the game anymore. When I say kill, it's expression. It can make it where you just don't want to support it. And it's a free to play title, right? A free to play title means a bit more free to play than pay to win, you know? Um, Here we go. Okay, the defensive psych. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure I did. Okay, I didn't read this one fully yet. So, if players are told to play something else or are given excuses for broken features, they will often do exactly that. Leave and rarely return in an MMO. Players' population is the content of dwindling players base causes a death spiral. Okay, that's something that they were putting somewhat to as an excuse. They weren't putting that whole thing, but they might have. Who knows? But if that's the case, then yeah, they're gonna lose a lot of players regardless. It's gonna kill them, their business. The defense cycle. This is the one I was gonna start getting into. Defensive attitude often prevent developers from recognizing that players are usually right about what is wrong. Even if their suggested solutions are wrong, deflecting responsibility avoids fixing the core issue, leading to further player attrition. It can it can basically harm them even further. These are all the different reasons that can harm them. But they don't want to say all this. They just want to say, "Oh, we decided to just work on Throne and Liberty." And I'm not trying to put toxicity because I supported Throne and Liberty. I got the pre-order on console for $115. Yeah, you pay $115 for that one free to play MMO, but just the pre-order, right? And then at the last minute, it just has too much pay to win in it, which they want to say it like, well, it's not really completely pay to win. If you have an auction house where you sell your gear and items and materials, and in order to buy them, if the other person had to buy them, they're forced to use premium currency. If that's not really pay to win, then what is, right? They're just lying. And it's a free to play title. And now here's the final thing of this one whole page. There's two more pages I want to put out there that Amazon Games isn't bothering to put out there, okay? Ignoring the golden rule. Successful games often succeed by acting quickly and fixing problems. than offering explanations. When a company fails to take ownership, it signals a lack of dedication that can ruin their reputation, as seen in cases like, in this game I didn't know, Cyberpunk 2077. Apparently that, I know that it had issues to a point that one time they just completely took it out of the market on the PlayStation Store and other places, like other online game shops, pre-patch era, or various failed buggy MMO launches. Yeah, uh, I'm not gonna lie, Cyberpunk's 2077 did had a lot of bugs early on, but at least they put it and fixed it. So ultimately, for a live service game like an MMO, players' retention depends on constant engagement and fixing problems. Excuses signal that the company prioritizes saving face over the game's health, which in a competitive market often leads to faster failure. Now, some of these stuff that is here being said are somewhat just a lot completely true, because what Amazon done was a quite a few of these things that they just ignored, right? They were trying to, how you say it, trying to fix New World Eternum, but I'm gonna say one of the failures that a lot of just both of their MMOs had is, even though New World Eternum was one of the most playing games than Throne and Liberty, right? Compared to, when Throne and Liberty released in Korea, before it even came here, it was still doing really bad. Okay, in Korea, it was still really doing pretty bad. NC Soft just made a complete pay to win, and they don't want Amazon Games, who is publishing it, to say all that. That's something they say. Whatever they say goes, right? And I'm gonna put this one out here. Yeah, company. Yes, this exact scenario is a major risk factor in the modern gaming, and this is for their best title, right? They took a major risk by just shutting the best game down for their gaming reputation, that can lead to a studio shutdown, because their sales were doing so well to the point where now they're taking the risk to shut down the game that was making them the most money, and that can lead to the whole company that is gaming for Amazon. Their Amazon Games company could lead to a shutdown, because also a massive layoffs and the bankruptcy of the gaming company entirely for Amazon Games, not other companies. Replacing a consistent, profitable, long running game, which they don't want to say that New World was their kind of better living game. New World Eternum had the better lifespan, and they just took risks. They cut the staff that were putting against New World Eternum, and then went to the other side, right? They took them out and decided to move on. With their long running game with a high budget, so this game was making them a high budget compared to Throne and Liberty. They don't want to say that. That will make it where their profit will start falling. Oh, okay. And the bankruptcy of gaming companies. This is all an example for what they're trying to do. Okay, if this is when a gaming company decides to make a risk by shutting down their best game and also putting massive layoffs, and this could also lead them to bankruptcy for a lot of things. Replacing, this is what they do as well, replacing a consistent, profitable, long running game with a high budget, falling five, failing five, failing live service title. It is common cause of corporate downfall, often referred to as chasing trends or mismanaging assets. Has Amazon Game tried to just continue to lie about their game being more trendy than Throne and Liberty? Of course. Because if the game, hold on, I keep clicking stuff. If the game only has a few players and lost 98% of their players in Throne and Liberty, which they have done. They have lost 98% of their player base in Throne and Liberty because nobody actually has an interest in Throne and Liberty because it was still aiming as a pay to win. Pay to win. That is going to lead their business to, let's say here, financial suicide via opportunity costs by shutting down a profitable MMO. The company voluntarily eliminates a steady, predictable revenue stream, replacing, damn, the thing where it says ask anything on my phone, man, is stupid. Um, gonna have to redo this one. By shutting down a profitable MMO, the company voluntarily eliminates a steady, predictable revenue stream, replacing it with a live service game that is losing money, which is Throne and Larry, by the way, creates a double loss situation. There, they are not only paying to keep the new unpopular game running, but they are also no longer receiving profits from the old one. Well, only part of that is a thing, right? Because Throne and Liberty isn't really making them any money. Uh, New World Eternum was making them a better revenue and better profit than Throne and Liberty. Let's just say that much, okay? What the heck? There's stuff on my phone. Sure, I gotta clean this entirely. Alrighty. Now, the live service trap. Many publishers have forced studio to abandon working profitable games. That is something that Amazon Games did, okay? And they don't want to say it either. To chase the high revenue live service model when these new rushed and or poorly received games flop, they lose tremendous amounts of money, sometimes hundreds of of dollars. Concord is an example, but I'm not trying to put Concord in here, which can lead to the closure of entire studios. And now, destruction of brand loyalty, right? Destruction of brand loyalty. Players rarely react well to their beloved functional game being killed. This leads to a massive public backlash, reputation damage, and a loss of goodwill, making it nearly impossible for the company to market their new failing project effectively. So the only way to make one game go completely down is by shutting down your best title. And you don't want to say it. You shut down your best title. And I loved New World Eternum more than Throne and Liberty because it just had too much pay to win. And that's one of the reasons why it started going downhill in Korea. North Korea, it started going downhill. Throne and Liberty was just already considered the most unlikable game because of its pay to win. And I'll look up that soon in the next stream at some point. But I'm going to read this one and one more thing that I searched up that is also going to affect it entirely. Okay? That is what they're causing their business to go down for because the wrong choices. Market over saturation, meaning it starts going down, right? The live service market is overcrowded. Players have limited time, meaning they have a limit to how long the game they'll be able to get it and invest in. Forever time to invest in forever games, making it difficult for new forced live service games to compete with established, profitable, and popular games, meaning they will have a lot of trouble trying to compete with other live service games. That is what they're putting upon themselves. They are making it more difficult to go head to head with other live service games. That's bad. The death spiral. When a live service game fails to attract players, and that's Throne and Liberty, guys, they're not trying to say it though, it requires more funding for updates to try to turn it around, leading to a higher development and marketing costs, with decreasing returns, creating a financial death spiral. That means it's going to lead them completely to a downfall. Okay? There's another one here that I have to read, which is right here. Okay, let me make sure this is what I was trying to put in as well. Well, a company who is losing a lot of money, would they try to lie to the fact that they are doing poorly? Okay, this is what I was also going to put in. So the other two, one of them was if they can literally go down, but I'll let you guys know what I search it like, okay? Let me just read this one here and I'll put all the things that I put to search all this happening. I'll let you guys know at the end of this, before the end of this stream. Yes, companies in severe financial distress frequently hide their situation and lie about their stability to avoid panic, maintain stock prices, or prevent customers and employees from leaving. And a lot of people are leaving because they don't like Throne and Liberty. Let's be honest, there's too much pay to win. May I say more? They may manipulate earnings, mispresent financial health, and this is also what Nintendo is somewhat doing, okay, guys? They do not want to say that they're suffering here in the US. And yeah, they may still continue in Japan, but they're not. They're not doing so well here. Okay. Or prevent customers and employees from leaving, they may manipulate. Okay, I saw those already. Or I already read the earnings misrepresent financial health. I already said that. Or use aggressive, misleading accounting practices to present a false image or success, often referred to as managing earnings or committing financial statement fraud. Let's just say they are actually doing a lot of what's here, somewhat, okay? Um, Now, this one is going to be another thing why they would try to lie. To retain talents and customers, admitting to a potential shutdown can trigger an immediate exodus of employees who don't want to lose salary, meaning they don't want to lose money, okay? And they're gonna end up losing money because the company don't want to say shit, and it's gonna go down. And customers who don't want to buy from a defunct business, okay? Meaning they don't want to support a business that is just making promises but don't keep their promise. And this is something else that they'll have problems with because they're lying. They'll make an excuse to secure fundings, and then this will happen. If a company needs a loan or investors, they will likely present a rosier picture to appear solvent, meaning they'll try to do something to make it look like their reputation isn't really hurt or harmed, but it ends up being completely the opposite. It is bad. It is completely bad. And this is something they'll do also. By they'll try to protect their stock prices publicly traded by just publicly trading companies are something that extreme is when they are extreme pressured to meet targets. Admitting weakness can cause their stock price to crash, meaning their pricing, the money they're making will literally go off the charts completely down. They'll go completely down to a point that they're just going to say, someone fix the profit of our income. Someone make sure the sales are getting improved. We gotta do something, right? For their business. To avoid panic, they do this. They put a leader hoping that if the truth is kept secret, they can manage a turnaround even when it is already too late. It's already close to that, man. It's already close to that with Amazon Games. It is super completely close. They are going downhill. And that's something I hate to see and hate to think about, but it's happening. And yeah, this is bad. This is really bad. So here's something else. How companies mask impending shutdowns. How they hide it is they try to put something as they try to come up with a strategy like trying to put something to make it where companies this is what they're doing. Companies may lie, violate accounting standards, if inflate assets value and understate expenses to show profits instead of losing. They try to show what they're already earned back then instead of showing that they're losing. That's basically what it is. And they will they may move debts into separate entities, meaning they'll put a separate building and have a different brand because the first one ain't really doing so good for them because they screwed up. And so separate entities off balance sheet financing to make the main company seem less risky. So they put another building, another business to make it look like they're not really going down, but they're going completely down, right? So Amazon Games is just a secondary company. The original Amazon business is just Amazon. Their shop their online shop where you could buy things from. Okay. Misleading and communications. This is what they're gonna do. Executives might give vague assurance about restructuring or being acquired to hide they are actually in Chapter 11 or Chapter 7 of bankruptcy. And that's something they don't want to say. They don't want to say any of this. They just want to lie behind our backs and say, everything's fine. Everything's fine. We may have shut down our best game, but we're gonna keep this game and we're still gonna continue our business. We still have plenty of money, right? We still have plenty of money, right? Oh, that's what everyone, including myself, wants to believe and wants to think. Alrighty. Warning signs of a failing company. Okay, let's get straight to the first final few things because we got warning signs, key personnel leaving, and delay. There's quite a bit, but I can save some for the next bit of content for this. All right, we were gonna put warning signs of a failing company. Even if management lies, certain indicator often appears when a company is in serious trouble. Amazon Games is in serious trouble. They don't want to say anything that is truth. And yeah, I used to support Throne and Liberty. I paid around $115 for pre-ordering the game to a point where now it has lost 98% of its players. Do I like that that's a thing happening? No. Because I paid a lot of money to pre-order Throne and Liberty. Why would I want it to go downhill like this? Hell no. After I invested so much money on pre-ordering a free-to-play game, thinking that it would do a little bit better than this. And that's not me trying to be toxic. This is me putting the things that I did to support the game and paid attention to how many players are leaving the game and how much percentage of the players have completely left the game altogether, right? That's something people don't want to think about. They don't want to they don't want to think of the fact that they invested money on a game because at first it was actually doing pretty well. But here's the thing, we all knew it would go downhill because the pay to win. I don't like that, man. It's stupid. Paying for a game is because it was worth paying for, but because people like me and other people that actually invested to pre-order the game and also somewhat invested in the game entirely, and I'm not someone who is very big on content. I am not that big. But do I try to put the truth out there? Yes. And it's stupid because it has already been going downhill since last year. Since last year, it has been going downhill. And I haven't played it since because even this year is doing worse. It is doing worse than it did last year. As much as I hate to admit, it just makes me, you know, regret a lot of things because I thought this game would actually I thought Amazon Games would try to at least improve Throne and Liberty. And New World of Turnham is their greatest game. It is one of their highest profitable games compared to Throne and Liberty. They just ended up shutting it down and never gave it a continuous chance because Throne and Liberty was literally going more down than New World of Turnham. And they just don't want to say it. They want to hide it. Now I'm gonna put a little more of another one. I can always put the rest of this one later on. Um, hold on. Oh, I already read the other two, but yeah, I put a little bit of this one. I'll probably put more about the rest of the things here, like unusual cost cutting and Probably I have to do the key ones too. I already put warning signs. The next few parts of this information, I'll do it later down the road in another stream, like the key personal leaving, and delayed paycheck reduced benefits, which that didn't really happen too much, probably because maybe, I don't know. I would have to look up more detail to look up what they actually try to do because they're not actually going to say the truth. A lot of businesses, when they're about to go down, they don't usually want to admit it, they don't want to put the truth, but sometimes they do. They just put it in a misleading way. Like, think about it, the complete owners of Terra for the PC version, they had to make an excuse to say that they donated all their money, even though the real situation was they went completely broke, and they gave the publishing rights to Sony and probably another company because Bluehole was the original owners, right? But the owners of the US version of the game, the US company that tried to continue it, they went down. But in the meantime, I am going to end this stream and I'm gonna start a let's play for Monster Hunter Stories 2. And maybe later down the road, because you know, to be honest, I feel like they were both wrong, and these are two YouTubers, and they were both wrong to do what they did. None of them were right to do what they did. One of them, who is someone who I just didn't like the things he said, but the thing is, I'm much smaller compared to this dude. And he's someone who started putting things against Arknight Zenfield. And to be honest, I don't really think the other side who try to put it back, I think they were both in the wrong. So, alright guys, I'll put some Monster Hunter Stories Let's Play Part 2 as a stream soon. And I'm just gonna get a drink and then start it up, the second part of the Let's Play. If you want to see and know what I was trying to put in this stream, you can just let it upload and wait for it and then see it from the beginning to the end. Um, alright guys, I'm gonna end the stream here and I'm gonna try to make sure I'm able to get ready for a Let's Play Monster Hunter Stories 2 Part 2.